Hey, Kurt the solar guy here. I decided to put this together to help you compare solar estimates and solar quotes more accurately. And I did this because the last 2 days I had two customers call me and they said, hey, some guy stopped by my house and he offered me a better price. One of them said that it was a better price because it was $20,000 less expensive. The other one said it was a better price because they were giving them a free fence. When we actually compared apples to apples, in the first case that was quote unquote $20,000 more or less expensive, it was actually almost $8,000. No, it was almost $7,000 more expensive when you compared apples to apples. And then in the case where they were getting a free fence for the same price, the free fence was costing almost $9,000. So I created this calculator, and in this video I show you how to use it. Please use this if you are considering going solar to compare estimates. Please use this to, if you've signed an agreement with somebody and somebody offered you a quote unquote better deal, use this calculator to compare that better deal before you even consider canceling with the other company. Now, also use this to negotiate. Use it however you want, but make sure you're comparing apples to apples because nothing is free. They're not going to give you a free fence. They're not going to give you a free air conditioning. We can all do that. It just means we charge enough for the solar to pay for the free fence, free battery, free air conditioning, free water filter, free heater, whatever. All right. So keep that in mind as you compare this. If you have any questions about how to use this calculator or how to compare this, please text or call me. I'm Kurt the Solar Guy. My number is 801-717-8572. 801-717-8572. Again, educate yourself, compare things properly. Don't just think because the dollar amount is less that it's actually a better deal. Again, this is only comparing prices. This will not compare customer service, reviews, warranties, none of that. This is just prices. That's another discussion. And I did this, I'll do a comparison right now using the calculator. I've sent you a link. If you're getting this video, I've also sent you a link to the calculator so you can use it and play with this calculator on your own. So my customer calls me up the other day. We had set up, we were about to install a system, and we still are going to install it because once we compared it through this calculator, it made more sense to go with our system. But we were set to install a $42,500 system, okay? That's the gross price before any government incentives or state tax credits, okay? This is the full price of the system, the gross cost. You want to make sure when you're comparing these, you're not comparing the net cost. The net cost is in the solar proposals, they'll always show you the gross minus the tax credit and if there's any state incentives, and then the net, okay? When you're comparing estimates, everybody gets the incentives. Everybody gets the same incentives no matter what company you go with. So you want to compare the gross cost pre-incentive, all right? So in this case, ours was $42,500. And it was a 10,950 watt system. Well, I get this panicked phone call from this customer and she says, hey, can you do any better? Because these guys just stopped by and they offered me $32,000. She actually said $23,000. But then when we got looking at it, it was really a $32,000 system. It was $23,000 after the tax credit, okay? So you got to make sure you're comparing apples to apples, total system price. So under company name, just write the name of the company's proposals that you're comparing. And I recommend to truly compare that you get it in writing in a professional proposal. A professional proposal will look something like this. If they're just telling you numbers and they're afraid to leave you with anything or they won't let you take a picture of it, there's something they're hiding. They don't want you to compare the true costs, okay? So make sure you get it in writing. Also, if they don't put it in writing, it's not real, okay? So now, that's what we were comparing. So when she calls me up, she thinks it's $20,000 less expensive. But they had told her the post-tax credit price, which already brought it up to $32,000, which means it's only $10,500 less expensive. Now we had to compare the system size, okay? So after you've punched in the total price of each system and the company names you're comparing, you need to type in the size of the system because it's really easy for someone to say, oh, your price was $200 a month. These guys' price is $100 a month. But what are you getting for that $100? How big is the system? And the answer is not 20 panels, 10 panels, 16 panels, 50 panels, whatever. The number of panels is irrelevant when we're comparing a system size because nobody is charging you by the number of panels. They're charging you by the number of watts that are on your roof. okay? And you're going to have a different number of panels with every company because everybody uses a different panel, okay? Even with the same company, I can use multiple panels. So depending on what design makes the most sense for your home, you might get a different number of panels. So you need to compare the size of watts, not the number of panels, okay? And you can find this on your proposals if you got them to leave you a proposal. If not, take a picture of it. But it's this number here, the system size. Okay, this one says 8.76 kilowatts, which you just take out the decimal and add a 0, and that's the number of watts. Again, to convert kilowatts to watts, take out the dot, add a 0, and that's the number of watts. So come back over here. In this customer's case, we were doing a 10.95 kilowatt system, or in other words, a 10,950 watt system. Okay, this is the system we were doing on her home. We looked at the proposal. She was left with the guys that she claimed were $20,000 less expensive. And they were doing a 6.5 kilowatt system. Again, take out the dot, add a 0. That's a 6,500 watt system. It's nearly half the system size. That means you're going to get nearly half, approximately, let's just say, half the power production each year. Okay? And so those are the numbers you need to compare apples to apples. Now, maybe a company's giving you a free battery. Maybe they're giving you a free water heater, a free water filter, a free fence. I had a customer call me today. These guys offered me a free fence for the same price. Nothing's free in this world, people. You know that. You know nothing's free, or you would already have solar on your roof, okay? So make sure you do this right and you compare this right. So the solar that they're getting was 6,500. Okay, leave any frills, you're going to get a free this or that. Leave that aside for right now. We'll compare that in a minute. Okay, now that tells us what they're charging us for every watt that's on the roof. Because again, nobody's going to charge us by how many panels are. They're going to charge us by how many watts they install. All right. So when we compared this, we found out they were charging $1 plus more than I was charging. So what she thought was a better price was actually a more expensive price. Okay? So that's what you do first. Now let's compare apples to apples. Now choose the system size you want to do. Okay? Whichever company's quote you liked their system size better, choose that system size. In this case, for illustration purposes, I'm going to put the 6,500 watt system in to compare that. Okay? So that we can see that the offer my customer was given was actually almost $7,000 more expensive once it was compared apples to apples. All right. So here's how we got to this number. We put in the 6,500, which is the size of the system that they were offering. We put that in as our desired system size. Okay, I'm going to change this to say desired size in watts. Okay. So our desired watts for this comparison is 6,500 watts because that's what the less expensive offer was offering. All right. So once we put that in, it will auto do the math. This system, the competitor system was $32,000 before the tax credits. My system was $25,000. So over here you can see the price difference. The difference is 32,000 minus 25,000, right? So they were actually charging her based on the rates. They were charging her $6,700. All right. So she decided to go with me and decided to keep the original system size because she decided that's what she actually needed. But if she had needed the 6,500 watt system or the 6.5 kilowatt system, then I could have given her that and I'd be happy to do so. And I would have done it for $6,700 less than this competitor who told her that their system was $20,000 less expensive. Okay, here's why this is important to understand when you're comparing prices. And if you've already signed a solar agreement with someone, before you go try to cancel that, because oftentimes you can't cancel those without a penalty. Before you go try to cancel that, use this calculator to compare what you actually are getting with each company, and then try negotiating with them as needed if you need to do any negotiating. But the bottom line is, don't just say, oh, it's better because They showed you the numbers they want you to see. Everybody shows the numbers they want you to see. So now this allows you to compare apples to apples. If I change it back to the 10,950 watt system, which is the system I believed this customer needed, you'll see it's an $11,000 difference. She would have paid $54,000 at their rates on that larger system, okay? So when you compare these apples to apples, now let's talk about, well, this company said they'd do a free fence. Nothing's free, okay? So if in this comparison someone had offered a free fence or a water filter or an air conditioning unit or whatever they offered for free, a battery, okay? The difference is what the free whatever is actually costing you, okay? So for example, if you're comparing my price, let's say that I offered you the system at $42,000 in this case, right? Let's say they're the same systems. I offered it $42,500. My competitor offered it at $54,000. Then the difference but they were giving me a free fence. Then the difference was that I was paying $11,000 for the fence. Here's a different scenario, okay? I had this happen today. My system was 8,760 watts for $35,000, okay? Competitor comes in and says, we can do it for the same price, but we'll include a quote-unquote free fence, okay? So they came in and said they'd do it for the same price. So we got looking at their system. Their system size was 6,570. So it was a smaller system, okay? So now when we're comparing these apples to apples, that difference in price right there, that is what she's actually paying for this quote-unquote free fence. And again, text me if this doesn't make sense or call me if you have questions. My number is 801-717-8572. 801-717-8572. My name is Kurt, the Solar Guy. Okay, so that's the difference right there in systems. So now, if we want to go compare, so if she wants to keep her price at $35,000 like they told her, then let's compare the 6,570 watt system. All right, so based off my rates, the 6,570 watt system would cost $26,250. Based off of the competitors' rates, that same size system was going to be $35,000, okay? But they were giving her a free fence. So the cost of the quote-unquote free fence was actually $8,750. Does that make sense? Any company can get you a fence. They just charge you enough for the solar power and they pay for the fence for you. Any company can get you an air conditioning unit. We're happy to do it. We just charge enough for the solar panels to get you the free AC unit. That's how the game is played. So to be more accurate, see what you're actually paying for that AC unit. I always recommend people do these projects separate because myself included and any other company, we can give you the best price if you do them separate, okay? And when you do them separate, you know exactly what you're paying. So basically what you want to do is you want to decide if you really need that free fence, is it worth $8,700? If it is, and you already signed a contract with a company, then negotiate with that company and see if they'll pay for an $8,700 fence for you. If they can or can't do that, then maybe you consider canceling, right? But know what you're actually comparing. Don't just think, oh, they did a free fence for the same price. Well, in this case, they were doing a free fence, a quote-unquote free fence, for $8,700 because they lowered the price. If she wants to just get the same size system through me without the free fence, she can do it for $26,000 instead of $35,000. So again, my price was better. So I hope this was helpful. Again, text me or call me if you have questions. I'm Kurt the Solar Guy. My number is 801-717-8572. 801-717-8572. Thank you.